You know what? The draft was yet. Did you have it? Do you have a chance to watch the draft, the NBA draft?
I didn't. How did it go?
I was gonna ask you like what team like do you support? Like
Oh, the Knicks.
like
I'm a Knicks fan.
the Knicks? Okay.
Knicks.
Sorry about that. I didn't watch.
Oh, wow.
Oh, bummer.
Wow.
No, so like
I am a New Yorker, hardcore, ride or die. You cannot abandon your team. Nope.
right. Okay, so like I'm a Steph Curry fan, so like I support the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, so like we had two draft picks. So the Knicks, I think I didn't watch it. Trust me. I didn't care about the Knicks yesterday. Just to be honest. Okay.
How did the Warriors
Yeah.
do? And as far as
No, they
like their
did. They
picks?
did. Yeah, they did really well. I think
Oh,
they
that's good.
got the 7th and the 14th picks. Um,
Okay.
but like the draft yesterday was pretty deep. Like in terms of like, um, like the drafts in previous years haven't been so like in terms of like talent and all that.
Hmm.
This one was pretty deep.
Right.
Like I guess like whichever team, like whichever player you got was pretty good. A pretty good choice. So it was a good draft.
Nice. That's good. I mean, people had a whole year in a pandemic to like prepare, so you know,
Exactly, right? Yeah.
work on your craft.
Today we have Dr. Adetunbi Ayeni in the house, people. All right, welcome to the third episode of the Premed podcast. Today we have Dr. Ayeni, Dr. Adetunbi Ayeni amongst us. Yeah, we're gonna have some real talk with her. Gonna dive into a lot of things. Now, Dr. Ayeni is a pediatric emergency medicine physician in the New York-Presbyterian healthcare enterprise. And she is currently an associate program director of the Pediatric Emergency Medicine Fellowship and Emergency Medicine and Ultrasound faculty in Presbyterian. And she's also the director of diversity for the emergency department at New York-Presbyterian Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. Now, over the years, Dr. Ayeni has won countless awards acknowledging her medical achievements and work with the community. Her resume is packed, people. And for 3 years, she served on the regional board of the Student National Medical Association, which I know most of you are familiar with, where she was the associate regional director for New York and New Jersey for 2 of those years. Now, in 2008, she became a founding member of the Distinguished Nigerian Physicians of Tomorrow. Yeah, we're going to dive into that, people. Don't worry. And her most recent award was in June 2018, where she was chosen from the Department of Emergency Medicine for an excellent display of hospital values in her everyday work. Dr. Ayeni, wow. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us today.
Thanks for having me. I feel like when you read the resume, I'm like, who's that? I don't remember half of what's in my bio.
Wow. It's packed. Now my first question for everyone is like how did you fall in love with medicine? So I'm gonna throw that to you right now.
I think I fell in love with medicine when I was a kid. I have that story of like, oh, I wanted to be a doctor since I was about 4 years old. I remember, always saying, oh, I'm going to be a doctor or a teacher. And I tell kids now when I'm like giving talks and stuff, I'm like, well, I became both, which is kind of cool. But in all honesty, I remember I had a very specific doctor. I think this is still her name. I think this is her name, Dr. Sean. And I was like a little kid. My mom would take me to, my doctor's appointments when I lived in Brooklyn. And I remember the smell of the clinic and how everything smelled very clean.
Wow.
And I remember I had this woman physician doctor who took care of me, and I wanted to be her. And the funny part is I'm a little Black girl, a little Nigerian American girl. And she was, I don't know exactly her nationality, but she was Asian. And I remember just admiring her and just looking at her and just thinking, wow, I want to do that. I want to do that when I grow up. And it never left me. And so I fell in love with medicine when I was a tiny little kid. And I
That's
still love
pretty
it.
cool. Yeah. Wow. So like you remember exactly how the hospitals smell like. Wow.
I
That's
do. I
right.
do.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. If you were to go back in time, do you see yourself doing anything else apart from medicine or no?
I've been asked that question before and in casual talk, never anything formal.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think I naturally like taking care of people. I naturally like, schmoozing with my patients and kind of like that social interaction. So I enjoy this. I don't see myself doing a lot of other things. I mean, I have a lot of amazing dynamic friends who are like lawyers and like producers and do all these great things. And I admire them, but I feel like the structure of medicine, what you get to do, how you get to take care of people, like you just have this intimate relationship with people that no one else is allowed into a space like that. So it's a privilege to do what I do. So I think I would have chosen it again.
Okay. Okay. Now, how was high school and your transition from high school to college? How was that?
High school. I was a band geek. I was a band geek. Wow. I loved high school. A lot of people don't say that, but I loved high school. I was in the band, the orchestra, the key club, all the nerdy things.
Let's go.
But in my high school, that was actually fun. It was cool. Like, I don't know if anybody from, high school's on here, but I want to say, and don't, tar and feather me. I want to say the band was more popular than the football team. Wait,
what?
The band was way more popular than the football team. I mean, we had this band coach, Mr. Abel. Shout outs to Mr. Abel. He's fabulous. He just retired this year again. He's like keeps retiring like Michael Jordan. He was just dynamic, and I was the captain of the flag team, so I could twirl a flag like nobody's business. And we just were like, we called ourselves the Southern Band from the North, and we had a great time. I mean, band was fabulous. I played the violin as well. I was such a geek, but like in other schools, you'd be thought of as a geek, but I thought I was pretty cool. I had my friends. I wasn't, upper echelon popular crew. I wasn't going to be like homecoming queen at all. But I mean, I had my little niche, and we had a great time. And so my transition, I know you're going to probably ask about this at some point, but my transition was interesting because my sister, back when she's also a physician as well, and back when I was in junior high school, she brought home a pamphlet from a place called Sophie Davis, and she's like, "You should go here." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go there," and then I completely forgot about it for years. Like nothing. Like I didn't even, think about it. I was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to this school. It's gonna be great, and I'm just gonna be a doctor in 7 years and whatever." Yeah. And one day in high school, I was in, honors classes and all that. And they would call over the loudspeaker, like, if you're interested in this school, they're here to recruit. Right. And we were lucky enough to have schools come and recruit. We were lucky enough to grow up in a neighborhood like that. And I know it's not the same for everyone because, they don't always have the same resources, which is always a huge problem. But we were lucky enough to have that. And Sophie Davis came, a representative came and they said, "Hey, does anybody want to come down?" I didn't remember the name of the school. I'm like, I think that's what it was called. I don't know. And I told my teacher, I was like, "Hey, can I go downstairs and just kind of listen to their little talk?" And then that kind of just steamrolled the journey and got me here. So I'm grateful for that. But high school was, besides all the academic stuff, I had a great time. I mean, we had a blast. It was great.
Right. Okay, so now wow. Okay, the band was more popular than the football team.
Yeah, it was.
Crazy. That's crazy.
It was.
So talk to us about Sophie Davis. Like, what was your experience like? And especially as a Black woman, and with your perspective from that aspect, like I guess like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just to put it that way. Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of good, bad, and ugly. We could be here all day. No, Sophie Davis is and was, it has transitioned a lot since I've been there. But it's a 7-year medical program. It's actually referred to as the Sophie Davis School of Biomedical Education, CUNY Medical School. That is a mouthful. But when I went, it was a 7-year medical program where you transition directly from high school and you were guaranteed a spot in medical school. So you kind of condensed undergrad, and then you proceeded to start your medical school career while you were in undergrad. And then you transferred to an affiliated medical school. Mine was Stony Brook. And you did a match, which is interesting because most people do their first match when they're matching into residency. We had already done a match, which was interesting. Wow. So we've been through the process. So Sophie Davis is a school that recruited minority physicians or minority students to become physicians in underserved populations, specifically serving in primary care, including GYN, family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics. And so they really wanted to repopulate our own communities with physicians that looked like the people that lived there. Right. And regardless of all other things, I admired the mission statement, even at the age of 16. I was 16 when I started, and it was an experience. It was hard. I will never lie to anybody and say it wasn't. Yeah. It was a struggle. I was about to ask,
what was the pressure like? Because it's not necessarily like a typical high schooler college experience. That kind of transition.
Right.
Right. So how was that like?
I think the pressure came from multiple directions. It was multifaceted. You obviously have self-pressure, do great, be great. You have this mentality. And then I come from immigrant parents, Nigerian parents who, I know you can relate. I know you can relate.
All Africans listening, y'all know what we're talking about.
That was something. I mean, right. They were amazing and supportive, and they cried with you when you cried and rejoiced with you when you rejoiced, but they did not let up. They know you can do it. If you say you can't, they will make sure you know you can. So there was pressure from there. And then the school itself, there were very specific requirements. You couldn't get below a B in any of your classes. You weren't allowed to, even if you took classes that were not part of the program, like in the regular city college, you weren't allowed to fail. I think you weren't even allowed to get a D. You couldn't get even the lowest passing. You had to be on top of your game. And I definitely clawed my way out of that program, which I think makes me appreciate having my MD so much more. But Sophie in general, I gotta say, we're like a family. I make fun. There are these, I think it's the University of Phoenix or some school where a long time ago they had this commercial where people would pull up their socks and the socks would be red, and then they would recognize each other. You went there. So they all have this family. Yeah, right, look this commercial up. It's old. It's like an old commercial, and it's they would pull up the socks and they would know, they would go to an interview and pull up their socks, and then people would be oh yeah, your socks are red, my socks are red. I love that commercial because it reminded me of Sophie Davis, and I joked around that we should have lavender socks to recognize each other. Right. But it's a family.
Well, yeah, I think
if you, University of Phoenix, right? We're totally product plugging in this school that we don't even know about, but right. But it's great because it really reminded me of Sophie. And now, I'll get residents, I'll get students, I'll get different people that rotate through that are Sophie, and I'll automatically it's a love. Okay, you went to Sophie, we understand each other's struggle. It was not easy to get through that program, and it's an unspoken family, essentially for the majority of us. So, and, we go back and they're oh, what class were you? What class were you? And, we still kind of reach back and help out there. So, I mean, Sophie was a fabulous experience, for better or for worse. Obviously, there's struggles with everything, but it was great. It was great. And I'm glad I went through it.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool to hear. So, how was Stony Brook?
Stony Brook.
Yeah.
Stony Brook was also a really great experience in the sense that I got a lot of knowledge. I felt super prepared when I left Stony Brook. It had its challenges as well as any place. Anything you do is going to have challenges. It had its challenges, but I do believe that, you know, when you come out, you know, you're like a phoenix. There goes the phoenix again. You know, you come out way stronger once you go through the fire. So I felt prepared. I felt prepared. That's what I'll say.
That's true. Okay, so in terms of that's nice to hear. In terms of time management, right? A lot of pre-meds, especially, you know, like initial years, we struggle with that. In terms of time management and studying, were you always good at that before med school, or like, you know, or not? And if not, how did you grow in that space over the years?
The simple answer is no. I was terrible at it. I was terrible. I am the ultimate procrastinator. You know, back then, you know, so the problem with smart kids, and you know, if you are, and I generalize smart kids, like, you know, listen, if you are focused on your education and you're going through, it doesn't matter what your struggle is, you are smart because you're getting through it. You're doing the best you can, even if you struggle a little bit. The problem with smart kids, though, is that sometimes when people keep telling you you're smart, you know, you kind of like, you know, you get away with waiting to the last minute. And I did that all through grade school, all through high school, all of that. And then you get to a place where you can't do that. Because it doesn't work like that anymore. Right. It does not work like that. And you know, you don't get a pass because you're in all honors. Everyone around you is doing the same thing. Like, you know, you're not like the top 10% of your class now. You are in the mix of a bunch of kids who are just like you and who are just as smart as you are, if not smarter. So I struggled with that. You know, I loved dabbling in everything. I wanted to be in band. I wanted to be singing. I wanted to run track. I wanted to play tennis. I wanted to do everything. And I wanted to be smart. And I was like, something's got to give.
Right.
So my first year in college, I remember making a very deliberate choice not to join any sports in the first semester, and really still trying to, you know, buckle down and do things. And I still struggled. I was like, where's my time going? So over time, it took me some time, but I got better at it. I think it really kind of started to solidify itself in residency, where I learned that I had to write things down. I had to make to-do lists. I was that person. I still do it now. I have a calendar that I write. I don't use like Google Calendar. I can't do the electronic thing. I have to write it all down. And make appointments with myself and things like that. So I struggled with it, but I learned my best way of getting around it. And to each his own, you know, it's not going to be one size fits all. You have to figure out how your brain works and make it work for you. So that's how I deal with it.
For sure. Thanks for sharing that. So writing stuff down worked for you, right? Like,
yes, sure, absolutely.
You stay top of your stuff. Okay. Yeah, I know that would help. That would go a long way to help a lot of students. So for sure. And in terms of learning, has your style of learning changed over the years? Like if it has, what are some tips you have for us?
My tip for your style of learning is figure it out early. Because you don't want to struggle. There's this episode in The Cosby Show where Theo figured out that he had a learning disability, and for years he just thought he was stupid. And it turns out he had dyslexia. And even smart people can have like dyslexia or a little bit of ADHD where they just can't focus and stuff. So I just say figure it out early. You know, you have audio learning, you have kinetic learning, you have so many different types, and there's ways to kind of like, you can take like online quizzes and kind of figure yourself out. But I figured out very early on that I'm a kinetic learner. I have to do something with my hands, have the experience, you know, write it and hear it. Like, I have to do that in order for me to really, truly embrace it and then repeat it, you know, be able to kind of reiterate it over and over again, see it again and again and again. I don't have a photographic memory. Some people do, and that's great. I wish I did. Okay. But that was me. And once again, I figured that out residency and a little bit beyond. So that was a little bit of a struggle, like always being told you're smart, and then you kind of hit a roadblock and you're just like, wait, what's going on? And you don't realize that you just never figured out how you learn. So that was great for me. So now, like, being in the hospital and having to, like, take tests and stuff, when I see it, like, I have a patient with this particular, like, toxidrome or drug overdose or whatever, I will never forget it because I saw it. So that's the way I work. So I like watching videos. I like writing and listening. Those things help me a lot.
That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice. So you talked about, thanks for sharing that. You talked about how prepared you felt after Stony Brook. What are some challenges that, as a Black woman, you kind of face at Stony Brook? Well, not necessarily, but let's say like in med school in general, like if any at all. And how do you? Yeah.
I almost feel like you heard me shirk around that part of it when I was talking about.
See, I got you.
I was gonna say, you got me. Like,
oh my.
That was a struggle.
Right.
Oh man, I will never forget. There were a couple of things, and I won't name names and name departments, but
right.
And I don't think that this is unique to Stony Brook. Like, no offense to Stony Brook, I loved it there. It was my first choice. I really wanted to go there, so and I appreciate them for giving me my education and making me who I am. But you can't. A whole institution can't be responsible for a couple of people or patients, right?
Sure.
I remember I was on a rotation once, and I was with a physician. Walked into the room, he sanitized his hands, and I'm a little mini me, right? I'm doing whatever my doctor is that I'm following is doing. So if he washes his hands, I'm washing my hands. If he walks this way, I'm walking this way. If he says this, I'm saying this, And so we both go in, he cleans his hands, I clean my hands. And, he examines the kid, I'm about to examine the kid. And the mother is like, she's like, don't touch my kid with your dirty hands.
Whoa.
And I'm like, oh, we're talking about me. Oh, okay. And it was just such a slap in the face. And I was like, and I was like stunned. And my attending came to my defense. And it was so blatant and so, it was so painful. Like, I didn't even know how to react. I didn't go home and think about it. I didn't go home and mull over it. It was just, it happened. But you don't realize how, like, that kind of stuff just chips away at you. Even and this didn't even happen in Stony Brook, but somewhere else, I remember going to see a patient, and I remember the parent pulling the kid closer to them, like, don't touch my kid. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I'm the doctor. I have to examine your kid. You kind of don't have a choice. You got to see me.
Right.
And without being snarky or anything, but there are things that I saw. I remember being on a rotation when I was in school, and they favored the other girl. And she was, white and blonde, and they loved her because everybody else looked like her. Right. And I remember it was my day to be at a particular clinic. I got to learn this one skill. I never got to learn that skill because the other girl showed up by accident on my day. And they were like, oh, one of you should go back to the hospital. Why don't you go back? And they pointed at me, and I'm like, well, it's my day. They're like, no, you can go back.
Wow.
Because they didn't want to work with me. And I felt it the entire rotation, just a blatant, just like other students that didn't look like me would do certain things and get away with it. Yeah. And I would attempt to do those same things, and no way. Right. Being told that I put a resident in a very difficult position by asking her if I could just go take a break. She's like, it's your medical education. Go take, I can't help that. Like, mind you, the other student was sleeping. That didn't look like me.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
Wow. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. There were things that were just so blatant that you couldn't mistake it. But what were you going to do? I needed to pass this rotation. I need to get out of school. I'm not the most, I wish I was one of those people that could say that I'll be holding the bullhorn at the front of the protest. I'm not. I needed to survive. I needed to get out of there. I needed to make it so I could take care of people that look like me eventually with the power that I eventually gained. I didn't have power yet. So there was nothing I could do to say or get out of those situations without just kind of being quiet and keeping my head down.
Right.
So it was, I had my challenges. Where people would just take one look at you and they would discount you, insult you, whatever. It wasn't easy.
Right. Now, what about your residency years? How about that? How was that?
Residency, I was at Robert Wood Johnson. Again, great institution. I got a lot of education there. I don't think I felt that as much. I feel like residency, I had a really amazing amalgamation of patients. We had a lot of immigrants, undocumented, that we took care of, which was so fulfilling for me.
Mm.
And if yeah, sometimes you just feel like the scathe of someone like not treating you nice or whatever. Was that related to race or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it was just a struggle because it was a struggle. Residency is not easy. But I don't think I felt that as much there. Overall, I felt like, I got a, once again, great education. I feel like everywhere I went, it grew me, and I got such a great education. And the institutions themselves, I commend them for just churning out just great doctors overall. So yeah, I feel like I felt it less there. I'm sure there were a couple of patient interactions. You definitely had the affluent patient population who they were very much like questioning everything you did and your judgment. But it is what it is. You're always going to be questioned as a physician, no matter what the reason. So
right. You're definitely. So I wanted to know, you're definitely like a role model for us coming up. And for young girls and like, even for guys like us and all of that. Yeah. So thank you for that, for pushing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Describe what your current job looks like, and I guess like your daily, weekly schedule. Like, what does it entail?
Oh, wow. I really do love what I do right now. I have a little bit of that factor of not being able to do the same thing every day. I like not being able to do the same thing every day. I like that change, but I also like structure. So it's weird. Like I like organized chaos. So I decided to go to pediatric emergency medicine. Initially I was just going to be a pediatrician, but I had a really amazing experience while I was at Stony Brook when I did my ER rotation at St. Catherine's Hospital. And I was like, wow, I don't know why I like this, but I like this. And then of course in residency, when I did my ER rotation, I fell in love. Like I felt like our ER at Robert Wood Johnson was just so great. And I really fell in love. The attendings there were just really encouraging. Some of them let me pretend when I was like a second year, which was like crazy, but it was really cool to allow me to kind of fall more in love with emergency medicine. So when I, got to fellowship and, now being an attending, I just really enjoy the fact that I decided not to do something where I'm doing the same thing every day. And for some people that works. For me, it's great not to. So on any given day, I could work a clinical shift, which I, like I did last night, where I'm in the emergency room for anywhere between 8 to 10 hours, seeing, sick children. So we are a trauma-ready pediatric emergency medicine hospital. So we don't necessarily see the level 1 traumas, though we are capable of taking care of them because a lot of us did our residencies at, level 1 trauma centers. But we take care of really sick kids. We resuscitate, we intubate, we, put a Band-Aid on there, reassure people, all of that, and sometimes you have to save someone's life and pump on their chest and shock them and all the fun things that you get to see on ER and all these shows that are out there. It may not be as dramatic, but it definitely is chaotic. So I like that adrenaline rush. I like the ability to get in there and just kind of drop everything and just your mind goes into like, just focus, like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with right now. Everything else on the wayside. And then the next day I could come in and be, administration. So, we have conferences every Wednesday. I'm the associate program director for the fellowship. And so, I organize the conferences, we bring guest lecturers in, we teach ourselves, we'll do hands-on lectures, things like that. And I get to interact directly with the fellows, which I love. It's rewarding. You kind of get to see the next generation come up and train, people who are going to be just like you, if not better.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. And then on another day, I can run around and just be doing ultrasounds all day. So I decided to do a second fellowship, which, some might see me as a little crazy for doing that and like stop being educated, like stop it, just start working. But I did another fellowship for a year where I learned how to do ultrasound, and it's what we call point of care ultrasound, or POCUS for short. And we do ultrasounds, like non-comprehensive ultrasound. So they're basically very specific to ask a very specific question to make sure that you are like, does this patient have an appendicitis? Yes or no? Does this patient have a gallbladder issue? Yes or no? And we answer those in real time instead of having to send them up to radiology, wait an hour for a scan and a result and everything, and then you can act on it. And the beauty of my hospital at NewYork-Presbyterian, Brooklyn Methodist is, a lot of our scans are taken to the OR or acted on. So we have the privilege to have that ability. So it's not a wasted talent. It's really great. But obviously, if we need backup or help or things are a little bit out of our wheelhouse, we send them up to radiology and have them take care of it. So that's my day to day. I get to just be different, wear different hats, and be dynamic and not have to be bored ever. So
right. So about getting bored, how do you manage burnout?
How do I manage burnout? So that's not easy when you are someone who is an overachiever, and all of you are. Every medical student, every resident, every doctor, we're all overachievers to some degree. And I remember when I started as an attending, I didn't take a real vacation for 2 years. And my my boss looked at me one day and he goes, "Take a vacation." And it's interesting. Yeah. Usually you're asking your boss to take a vacation and they're side-eyeing you, but I am usually told to go take one. Wow. So I took one, and over the years I've realized that you really have to take a break. You have to. Whatever it is, that break, you might not think so, but the break rejuvenates you. It changes you. You come back more empathetic. You come back ready to work. You kind of miss your job a little bit. The day before you might be like, I don't want to go to work. You get there and you're just like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. Let's do this. Yeah. I took a vacation last week, funny that you ask, and it wasn't much of a vacation. I had so many things going on. I had funerals to go to, there was a lot happening. So I kept saying, this isn't a vacation. This sucks. This isn't a vacation. But when I got back to work, I actually felt like it was a vacation. I had time away to step away. I didn't have to, be a ball of empathy all the time, because you need to, you run out of empathy sometimes and you find yourself getting cranky. So you need a break, you need a vacation. And in between times, you got to find a hobby that is not medical related, do something else. I mean, I love my Peloton. It's my favorite toy. I love it. I really do. And that's one of the ways I get things out. I love, I really do love my friends and family. So I'm very much someone who likes to entertain, bring people over, but I also love my alone time. So I'm an extroverted introvert. So you could see me just vegging out on the couch and just changing the channel, and I am happy. So, take that break, do something different, shut your brain off. If you like to hike, go hiking. If you like to just, barbecue, whatever you like to do, find a hobby, read a book. Or better yet, don't read a book. Listen to a podcast, or listen to this podcast. No, just listen to a book on tape. I'm listening to a couple of books on tape right now, as I drive to work, and it's really great because I don't have the time at night to sit and open a book, so it's nice to kind of listen to one while I'm cleaning or whatever. Just find something else, and don't dismiss those breaks. Don't say, "Oh, well, I can keep going." No, stop. Take a break. Really, really take your mind off of things and shut your brain off. It's not easy. We have phones connected to our arms, literally. But take a break. And burnout, you'll have less burnout if you take a break and can add some variety to your schedule, and you don't feel like you're doing the same thing day in and day out.
So so now we are coming back to the details that I talked about in the intro. In 2008, you founded the Distinguished Nigerian Physicians of Tomorrow, right? So what is that about? What is that about? Talk to us.
So I didn't found it. I definitely don't want to misappropriate myself. Okay. I was just part of the group that we were like the founding members, I guess. I overall wish I did a lot more with them, because once I got back to school, it was like crazy. And I had to, like, a family tragedy after that. But there were a bunch of students. So the Association of Nigerian Physicians in the Americas, ANPA, they invited, I had seen them when I was a kid. I went to one of their conferences as like a guest, like not ever thinking that I was going to be a part. But, in 2008, they invited a bunch of Nigerian medical students to come down to North Carolina for free. And I think we only paid for our airfare, and that was it. Like, they got everything else, hotels, everything. They invited a bunch of us down there, and I think there were about 25 of us. Some really, really, really great people. I think the guy who ended up being our president was like Lamre Jimo. I think that was his name. Forgive me if it's not, but shout outs to him for doing such a great job with leading us back then. But we went down there and they said, okay, guys, we want you guys to start like a medical school or a medical student branch. Go. And we sat in conference rooms and we hashed it out, like down to the name. We hashed it out, DNTP. We hashed it all out. And it was such a beautiful meeting of the minds, like just some great young people, really, really passionate about, our place in this world as Nigerians and Nigerian Americans, and, what that means for us, and, how we can help our community, not just the community that we come from being Nigerians, but the community that looks like us being Black people. Yeah. And so it was really sweet to be a part of that, even though it was a short time for me anyway. It was a beautiful thing to be a part of. And then going back and watching people and seeing people join them and be passionate about it. And it was so encouraging to see some of my mentees be a part of it. And just me be able to reach back and give them a high five and say, great, keep going, do what you're doing. So shout outs to, ANPA for allowing us the space and the resources, to do that, because they didn't leave us alone. They said, come, we'll pay for everything. Do it. Like, just make it happen. Like, whatever you need, we got you. And that was really nice to have our seniors, our role models give us a platform. So it was really nice. And our leader, he ended up speaking at the big banquet, which was really nice to be represented and acknowledged. So I appreciated that experience. Right.
That's pretty nice. Yeah. So shout out to all Nigerians listening to us out there. Yeah. But I have a what is it called? A pick to pick with a thing to pick with Nigerians out there. Just know that Ghanaian jollof is the best. Okay, like we're tired of you guys always being like, Nigerian jollof be the best. So Ghanaian jollof is the best. I'm just saying.
The mere fact that you had to mention it, look, you already know, because see, we don't even have to say nothing. It speaks for itself. But you mentioned it because you have to. Niger jollof, Niger know they carry last. It's the bar, you get that, and we have the party jollof that has the little bit of a burnt taste, like that wood burnt taste. You gotta have the variety, man.
You don't know. You don't. You know what? We're just gonna leave it there.
We're gonna leave it there.
My Ghanaians listening know what I'm talking about. So
I love all my West Africans. I'm gonna leave it at that. Little big heart.
Yeah, let's leave it there. Okay. And so you're also involved in the longitudinal course. Can you talk about that as well, like focusing on race and healthcare and like medical disparities?
Yeah. So this was a little bit of a baby of mine, a bit of a baby of mine. Back when in 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, obviously the tragedy of Mr. George Floyd that we all unfortunately witnessed on television and broadcast worldwide. Was gut-wrenching to so many people that look like us and people that don't. It was just a humanity aspect of it, just someone being killed so senselessly and for nothing. So I was passionate, just like so many other people were. And I felt a little disappointed that I didn't see so much more of a uprising in the very beginning. from the medical community. Obviously we had white coats for Black lives and so many other things happened in the midst of that. But I think we were all kind of thinking the same thing at the same time. And then boom, like a big uprising of a lot of medical things happening, a lot of protests where the, white coats would march together, things like that. I couldn't get to a protest. I was busy all the time. We had the pandemic still going on. I work in the ER. I really wasn't willing to be around a lot of people to give them, God forbid, I had, COVID on me or near me or anything. I didn't want to put people at risk, but I would drive by Grand Army Plaza and put my fist up. And, as I saw protesters and encourage people, I would drop off masks at different hospitals. I did a lot of fun things just to do my part.
Yeah.
But I wrote a letter to the chairperson of my department, and he was so receptive. And I really, really appreciated that. And I had some, a little bit of venom in that letter, just kind of like, I'm upset, I'm upset. And, just a little bit of a segue, guys. If you have a problem and you want to voice your opinion about that problem and state your upsetness or whatever it is, I'm just making up words here, but if you want to state your feelings about that issue, don't just state the issue, come up with a solution too. Because people are less willing to listen to you if you just state the problem and you don't have an answer for it.
That's deep.
And sometimes there is no answer, but you have to try your best to, have something that's, a little bit of a solution. So with that being said, yes, my letter was written with, my passion and my emotion regarding the situation or surrounding the situation, but I included in there, I said, you know what? Let me start a course. Let's start educating people on what they should and should not say and do and things that they need to know about race. There's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot that I didn't know. And I'm Black, Right. And we have to educate ourselves because there are things that have been said to me. I'm teaching and a resident said blatantly out of his face that, Black people are innately angry. They're innately violent.
Wow.
And like you couldn't hear a pin drop because everyone just kind of looked at me like, oh crap. Like, I can't believe he just said that and she's about to lose her mind. And I didn't lose my mind. I educated him. I said, I don't know how you can say that, but and the interesting part is that he's also part of a minority population. He's also part of a minority population. And so I had to let him know that that was not okay. That saying was not okay. And so all of that kind of drove me to the point where I wrote that letter and I said, I want to start a course and I want this course to span the course of the year. The next thing he asked me was, first of all, he said, yeah. And the next thing he said was, do you need money? And I'm like, yes, never turned down money. I was like trying to think quick on my feet. I was like, I didn't think about money.
Oh my, yeah.
So he gave me money for books and, some other things that are still in the works right now. But over the course of the year, since June of 2020 to now, I have had this course where I could educate residents, fellows, medical students, and some attendings who are in attendance about race relations in this country. And not just race relations, culture, ethnicity. We've talked about, the Holocaust. We've talked about redlining. We talked about the Tulsa Massacre, Juneteenth. We've talked about the epigenetics of race and how that affects, generations down the line. We've talked about racism versus race when it comes to like medical illnesses and biases. We've talked about inherent bias, heuristics. I mean, we've talked about so many things. And I've even had them watch videos of, the green-eyed, brown-eyed kids by Jane Elliott. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it on YouTube. There's so many versions of it. But really, really delving into it, making them uncomfortable. And I told them from the very beginning, you're going to be uncomfortable, and that's okay. We're going to talk about things that, you kind of want to squirm in your seat and walk out of the room, but that's okay. Because guess what? That's the reality of a lot of people every day. And they can't shake the skin that they live in. So it's been a success so far. Thank God for the people who have been a huge help. I mean, you had Dr. Samuel Ayala here on episode 2, and
yeah.
he was one of my biggest cheerleaders. when it came to that. So shout outs to him and so many other people who have just had my back when it came to that, so, the whole ER department at Methodist, shout outs to you guys. Thank you so much. But it was a baby of mine, but I got a lot of help. And I appreciate that. And I'm moving forward with it, stemming into a different department. Pediatrics has contacted me and they want to like do something too. And, we're all just trying to figure this all out together. And it's really resonating with people. I'm hearing conversations outside of the classroom that they're just kind of talking to each other about some of the things that we've discussed in the room. And, I got some really great feedback, just doing some anonymous polls, like, you guys still like the scores? Am I just browbeating you down with like racism, and being like my own, I don't know, like, do they see me as like this radical? Like, I don't know what they saw me as. And I got some really great feedback. A lot of them wanted it to return as a monthly thing, keep going, like, don't stop. And I think it's really working. And I'm passionate about just learning. We're going to include more things about LGBTQ. We're going to include more things about, Islamophobia, about anti-Semitism, really branching out to the things that people are biased about. Whether you believe in these things or not, check your bias at the door and treat the patient as a person.
Right.
And then go from there. And, we're not just talking about medicine, we're talking about relations. And when you can do that in your everyday life, you bring that to medicine as a better doctor, as a smarter doctor, as a more compassionate and empathetic doctor.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that was deep. Okay, so you love traveling, especially on like faith-based and medical missions. Yeah, can you share with us some of those stories and like which one was your favorite? Like one of those medical missions. Yeah.
So I do a lot of like the faith-based missions, and then medical missions. Of course, I am a part of a group called the Giving Joy Foundation, started by a pediatric internist over at pediatric intensivist over at Cornell, Dr. Joy Howell, shout out to her. She's a wonderful mentor of mine. And she started this mission program through her church, and it was a medical mission through her church. And I've been able to help them with missions that they've gone on to Trinidad and Jamaica. And then I actually went with them on a mission trip to Nigeria back in 2015. And it was probably one of the best experiences of my life. I had gone and worked with a doctor back in 2010 at a hospital in Nigeria. And it was great. I loved it. I was a resident then, but I didn't have all the skills that I wanted to at the time. And I just got to shadow him. But when I went back in 2015 and actually got to like take care of people, and not only take care of people that looked like me and spoke my language. Right. Like a lot of the, it was so cool, and I know I was born here and everything, but my parents have been phenomenal, and my sister teaching me the language and everything. So I can get by, with conversation and some reading even, and maybe some writing. And a lot of the translators were running around and helping all the other people. I felt so proud that I didn't need them. I could just talk to my people, and I got better and better over the course of the week. But it was so fulfilling. We saw over 2,000 patients in 1 week. We visited about 5 or 6 hospitals and gave them supplies. Like I think we bought 1 ton of supplies with us, donated by different organizations and companies, and then our own, donations. And we just got to take care of people. We had a free medications. The clinic was free. It was out of a church out in Nigeria, and it was so fulfilling and so amazing. And I was super blessed by it. And yeah, I feel that we need to do more of that stuff, and bringing things back to resource poor nations. And yeah, or I should say access poor, because they're not resource poor. They just have poor access. And yeah, and it was a really wonderful thing. And so many of like the grandmas and everything were so appreciative just to see someone that was young and looked like them and like helping them out, and it was great. And then really just helping them focus on like certain priorities. Everybody wanted like deworming medication, and I'm like, yeah, but your blood pressure is 192 over 100. So can we talk about that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was the interesting part, just educating people, and being the only ER doctor there was fun because it was basically like triage medicine. It was like ER medicine for me. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that a lot. So yeah. And then the faith-based ones, going to different, places with my church.
Yeah.
South Africa.
Oh, wow.
South Africa was the bomb. It was the bomb. We went, I went in 2018, and we went, so we have, my church is Power and Authority Evangelical Ministries, and we have a outreach group that my pastor, the now or soon to be Bishop Emmanuel Onabanjo, he essentially started it, and we went and gave young people, sanitary supplies, specifically the young women who unfortunately miss school because they have, they're menstruating and they don't have enough supplies to get them through the day. So instead of being embarrassed in school, they stay home, and then they miss out on their education. And, then that steamrolls into other things. And, so it was really great to go down there and give soaps and deodorants and, sanitary pads and different things. And then we visited countless churches, and we went to so many schools and just made our presence known. And we were there for like a week and a half, and it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. So if I had to pick out of the two, medical missions and church missions, my favorite church mission was South Africa. My favorite medical mission was Nigeria. So
nice,
mm-hmm.
nice. Now let's talk about Paradox Worldwide. I want to hear all about it.
Woo! Paradox Worldwide, great organization. The CEO is Alex Polak. Shout out to him. And so essentially, we are a company, or it is a company that staffs different events. I got started with them when I was a fellow, which was great, and I do a lot of great things with them. It's really cool to kind of do like this like renegade medicine like outside, and concerts and young people doing some interesting things and having to save lives like in the street. So it's it's a little more sophisticated than that, I promise you. But it's really fun to go to concerts, go to these outdoor concerts and games. We do baseball games as well, and treat people. And it's great because people are they fall sick during some of these things. You had a baseball game and somebody had a heart attack, and we have to take care of him. Or you might have someone that loses a finger or dislocates something. We do the Spartan race. We do a lot of different things, and I get to be a part of that. When I have time. That's like I have my day job, and then that's like my night job. So I get to work with them, and that's a lot of fun. So the diversity of my job, the ability to do so many different things as an ER doctor is astounding, and I really enjoy that.
Right. Wow, this has been a very educating and just fun conversation. I really enjoyed it. Now, like, to wrap it up, I guess, like, do you have any tips for pre-meds out there, like, coming up? I guess, like, general advices that you have for us. We welcome all of it, please.
My biggest advice, I'll say two really big pieces of advice. Get mentors. And I didn't say get a mentor, I said get mentors. There's a mentor for everything. You don't have to listen to the advice of your mentor. I joke around that it's like a consult. You can get a consult, but it's a consult. You don't have to take their advice. But you need to understand all the angles of your options. Okay. So get mentors. And so multiple people to tell you about different things. You can have a career mentor. You can have a lifestyle mentor. You can have multiple career mentors. You can have, whatever hobby you have, get that kind of mentor. So get different types that really help you. Someone that knows how to study and organize, and that's in medicine, or maybe not. Just get different mentors. It's super helpful, and you have your options, and they don't have to look like you. Some of my most amazing mentors have been like older white people, and that's fine. Get mentors. And then I have Black mentors too. I have mentors that are like not too far from my age. I have mentors that are 30 years older than me. Get them. They come and go. Some of them stick with you forever, become your friends. It doesn't matter. Get mentors, and really just use their advice to decide on what it is you want to do. Again, you don't have to take all of their advice, but just kind of get a broader experience and a broader perspective for your career and for your life. And so it helps in that regard. And you might just circle back to exactly what you wanted to do in the first place, but it's nice to be well informed. The second thing, though we think about tomorrow a lot. Oh, what's going to happen in a month? What's going to happen in a year? Don't let that bog you down, because sometimes that can stunt you. That fear of the future can stunt you. As much as you want to look forward to it and want to be a visionary, and that's great. But if it starts to stunt you, get it out of your mind. When I was struggling, I remember when I was struggling with biochem. Was it biochem? No, organic chem. Oh, God. When I was struggling with organic chemistry.
You know what we're talking about? Yeah.
Woo! I was struggling, man. Oh, man, those L and R's, and I couldn't get it together, man. It was like I had my little blocks and my little molecules, and I was like, what is this? I couldn't get it together. I had no visual, spatial, like anything. I just didn't know what I was looking at.
Right.
That was my first year, and neurology was 5th year. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I remember exactly where I was sitting, and I remember exactly what I was doing. And I remember holding my head like, if I can't figure out organic chemistry, how am I gonna get through neurology? Neurology was 4 years away, guys. Like, stop. Like, stop. I had to stop myself. I was just like, Tumbi, get it together. You are doing organic chemistry right now. Stay on organic chemistry. You will get to neurology and you'll be fine. And I was. So just, think about the future as far as like your goals, set up what you want to do in life, and all that fun stuff. Great, do that. But don't let it bog you down. Don't think that you're not going to be capable of doing what's coming in the future. You're preparing yourself step by step. If you had to jump up onto a building, like from ground level, you couldn't do it. But if you have stairs, it's easy. So take the stairs. Don't jump.
That's deep. Like, wow. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for that. Now, like your social media accounts, we gotta get that out there, so that our students can follow you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a lot on my Twitter. I can get something on there. But my Instagram for now. Actually, what is my Twitter? I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Oh, I think it's. Yeah. Is it Dimple? I don't know what it is. I'll find out and I'll get back to you.
Welcome to medicine, guys.
Right? Like, what is my Twitter? I literally have nothing on my Twitter. I tweet nothing. I'm going to eventually. I promise you. My Twitter is going to be up and running. I got plans. I got goals, mama. No. But my Instagram, I know my Instagram. I promise you, I know my Instagram. It's oh, wait, hold on. wait, I promise, I know it. It's oh man, TUNEBEE Dimples, DIM as a man, PLZ. Okay, that's what it is. TUNEBEE DIMPLZ. Adetunbi Dimples. So I think that's what it is. And my Facebook is Adetunbi Ayeni. It's real easy. But don't be offended if I don't add you on Facebook, because that's more like family, social, blah, blah, blah. But Instagram, follow me on there. Send me a message. Say hi. I actually answer my Instagram, which is pretty interesting. I don't answer my Facebook. It's weird. And I promise you, when I get my Twitter up and running, I'll give you the information. And I have a LinkedIn, which just has like my basic info on there. It just has my name, Adetunbi Ayeni. So you can find me on there as well. So.
Guys, after the episode, please check the description. I will link every single account down there in the episode. So the description. So don't worry about that. Welcome to medicine, people. Welcome to medicine. Thank you, Dr. Ayeni. Wow, what a conversation. Thank you so much, guys. Join me to say a big thank you to Dr. Ayeni. I know that you all have been inspired by her stories and all the advice that she's given us today. So thank you, Dr. Ayeni. We really appreciate your time. And any last words that you may have?
No, just thank you for having me. And I think what you're doing is amazing. Good luck to you. I think you're going to be super successful. And everyone listening, honestly, just whatever your faith is, hold on to that. It'll get you through this. So good luck, guys. I'm proud of all of you. I don't even know you yet, but I really am proud of you because it's amazing to see the next generation come up.
Thank you so much. Guys, see you in the 4th episode. Bye for now.